He walked into the bank like any other teenager, nervous, hopeful, and carrying something that could change his life. But the moment the young black teen stepped foot into that polished Atlanta lobby, everything shifted. The stares, the smirks, the laughter. The security guard didn't see a kid with dreams. He saw a threat. He saw a joke. He saw someone who didn't belong. And what that guard did next, it wasn't just disrespectful, it was dehumanizing. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was who that teen really was, or the power walking through those doors just minutes later. This is the story of how a bank guard tried to humiliate a boy and ended up exposing himself in front of a billionaire. You think you've seen karma before? Wait until you hear this. 'Cause in a world that's quick to judge and even quicker to silence, our stories get buried, but not here. At Global Black Voices, we bring them to light. The voices they tried to ignore, the people they looked down on, the moments they thought would stay hidden. We tell it all. From the shadows of injustice to the rise of the underdog, these are the true, raw, and powerful stories of survival, resistance, and redemption. Stories that make you angry, make you cry, and make you never forget. Welcome to Global Black Voices, where the silence speak, the underestimated rise, and the truth hits harder than fiction. Subscribe, because the next story might just be yours. Let's dive into the story. He stood in the middle of the grand marble lobby, his sneakers squeaking slightly on the floor with every hesitant step. 17-year-old Malik Carter clutched a navy blue folder tight to his chest, the contents inside more valuable than anything he'd ever owned. Dressed in a faded hoodie and jeans, he looked out of place. Too poor, too young, too black to be walking confidently into a bank like Sterling Atlantic, the kind of place where money practically dripped from the ceilings and suits were the minimum dress code. The security guard spotted him the moment he stepped through the glass doors. Hey, you lost, lil man?" the guard asked with a smirk, strolling over like he had all day to enjoy this moment. His name tag read Henderson. His tone was half mocking, half threatening. Malik stopped. "No, sir. I'm here for an appointment. I'm supposed to meet..." "An appointment?" Henderson snorted. "With who? Santa Claus?" Laughter erupted from the front desk, where a receptionist covered her mouth but didn't even try to hide her amusement. Henderson stepped closer, glancing at the scuffed folder in Malik's hands. "Let me guess. You here to open a savings account with your lunch money?" Malik's jaw tightened. "I'm here to speak with Mr. Campbell. He's expecting me." Now Henderson outright laughed. "Oh, now you're meeting the branch manager? What's next? Lunch with the CEO?" He reached for Malik's folder. "Let me hold that for you, little man. Don't want you spilling your coloring books." But Malik pulled back, clutching the folder tighter. "Please don't touch my stuff." That was all it took. Henderson's amusement turned cold. "All right, that's enough. You don't get to stroll in here looking like you just walked out of a trap house and start making demands." He motioned to the desk. "Angela, call someone. Let's get him out of here." Malik's voice trembled. "Please, just call Mr. Campbell. He told me to bring these papers today. It's important." The receptionist picked up the phone, rolling her eyes as she muttered something into the receiver. People walking by stared. A couple in designer clothes sneered. A man in a tailored suit whispered, "Where's his mother?" A few chuckled. All Malik could feel was heat rising to his face, humiliation wrapping around his chest like a rope. But then, silence. A hush fell over the room like a switch had been flipped. The glass doors opened again, and in walked a tall, sharply dressed man with salt and pepper hair, a suit that probably cost more than Malik's entire education, and the kind of presence that commanded attention. His walk was slow, deliberate, and calm, but his eyes were fury restrained. "Malik," the man said, his voice echoing through the lobby. "Are you all right?" Malik turned, relief flooding his face. "Dad." Gasps fluttered like birds trapped in the high ceiling. Henderson's face dropped. Angela's hand slowly lowered the phone. A teller dropped a pen. "Wait, Dad?" Henderson repeated, eyes darting between Malik and the man now approaching him with calm authority. "Who is this?" the man asked, gesturing to Henderson without even looking at him. "The man who tried to humiliate my son in public? Or just the one who thought being black in a bank was a crime?" "Sir, I was just doing my job," Henderson stammered. "Oh, I know exactly what you were doing," the man snapped. "Because I've seen it my whole life. Profiling, humiliation, denial of dignity. You saw a black boy in a hoodie and decided he didn't belong. You tried to reduce him to a stereotype, not realizing he walks with the blood of me in his veins." He turned to the room. "My name is Lawrence Carter, CEO of Carter Tech, founder of the Carter Opportunity Foundation. I own 40% of this bank's tech infrastructure. This bank runs because of my investments. And today you decided to shame my son because he didn't look rich enough to be respected." The room was frozen. "And Malik," Lawrence continued, now looking directly at his son, "that folder he's holding, it contains the patent papers for a software algorithm he built on his own. He's 17, and he's already developed a fraud detection tool that's better than what half the banks in Atlanta use." He turned back to Henderson. "Do you know what we were going to do today? We were going to pitch it to Mr. Campbell. And if it went well, Malik would be starting his own subsidiary company under Carter Tech's umbrella. But now," he looked around, "now I'm reconsidering every single partnership I have with this branch." Angela gasped. Mr. Campbell himself appeared in the doorway, pale as paper. "Mr. Carter, please. This is a huge misunderstanding," Campbell said quickly, his smile so forced it looked painful. Lawrence didn't even look at him. "Number, what's huge is the bias you let fester in your institution." He turned to Malek. "Let's go, son. We'll pitch somewhere that sees your mind before your hoodie." As they turned to leave, Henderson called out, "I didn't know he was your son." Lawrence stopped, turned around. "That's the point. You shouldn't have had to know who he belongs to treat him like a human being." The doors closed behind them. Outside, Malik let out the breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "You okay?" his father asked. Malik nodded. "Yeah, I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't think it'd be that bad." Lawrence put a hand on his son's shoulder. "You kept your dignity. That's something they can't take. And you made it through. That folder in your hands, that's your future. Nobody can laugh that away." Malik looked at the building behind them. "You think they'll really lose your partnership?" Lawrence gave a slight smile. "Oh, they already did. But that's not the part I'm worried about." Malik looked confused. "Then what?" Lawrence's smile faded. "Because this wasn't the first time someone underestimated you, Malik, and it won't be the last. But next time, it might not be just a laugh. It might be something worse." Malik's expression hardened. "Then I'll be ready." But even as they walked away, neither of them noticed the man in the black SUV parked across the street, watching them, recording everything, smiling coldly. They left the bank behind them, but the sting of what happened still clung to Malik like a second skin. Back in the car, he sat in silence. His father didn't push. Lawrence knew better than most that dignity, once cracked, didn't repair itself with words. It needed action. It needed time. And sometimes, it needed a reminder. So that's what he gave Malik. An hour later, they walked into the offices of Carter Tech, 50 stories high, all glass and steel, built by resilience, strategy, and sleepless nights. Every employee on the floor stood when they saw Lawrence, but today he waved them off. "Malik," he said, placing a firm hand on his son's back, "this is where you belong. Not begging for validation from people who never wanted to see you win, but building your own table at your own damn pace." And for the first time since leaving the bank, Malik smiled. He handed the folder to the company's legal team, and within hours they began processing his provisional patent. By day's end, Carter Tech had drafted plans for a new division, Carter Vision Analytics, a fraud prevention platform spearheaded by none other than Malik Carter. 17, black, brilliant, and finally seen. But even as that victory took shape, in another part of Atlanta, someone else was watching. Later that night, in an upscale office bathed in low golden light, "Play that clip again," said a deep voice, cold and deliberate. The footage replayed. Malik walking into Sterling Atlantic Bank, getting humiliated by the guard, and then Lawrence Carter arriving, shutting the whole room down with less than 10 sentences. The man watching leaned back in his leather chair. "Malik Carter," he muttered. His name was Marcus Wexler, CEO of Nova Secure, Carter Tech's biggest corporate rival, and one who had spent years trying to outbid, outmaneuver, and undermine Lawrence Carter's every move. "This kid just handed Carter the next billion-dollar weapon," Wexler muttered, "and he doesn't even know it." His assistant looked uneasy. "Sir, he's only a teenager." Wexler chuckled darkly. So was Zuckerberg. He tapped his desk, eyes narrowing. "Find out everything you can about Malik, where he lives, where he goes, who he talks to, and if there's a weakness, we'll find it." The assistant hesitated. "And then what?" Wexler's voice dropped to a whisper. "We take it from him before he even knows what he built." The next morning, Malik stood in his bedroom, staring at his whiteboard, which was already filling up with sketches, wireframes, and algorithms. The excitement in his eyes was back. He was building something real, something that mattered. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Impressive pitch yesterday. I've been watching. You've got real potential. Meet me tomorrow, Midtown Cafe, 11 a.m. This opportunity is bigger than Carter Tech." Malik blinked. He showed it to his father that night. But Lawrence took one look and shook his head. "You're not going. That's how these people move. Sweet talk first, sabotage next." "But what if it's real?" Malik pushed. "What if someone else sees something in me?" "You already have someone who does," Lawrence said firmly. "You don't need them. Not now." Malik said nothing, but deep down, that hunger for independence, for his own spotlight, was growing louder. Not against his father, but beyond him. The next morning he stared at the clock. 10:42 a.m. He looked at his phone. Then he stood up. Midtown Cafe, 11:01 a.m. Malik stepped in, cautious but curious. A man in a gray tailored suit stood up from a back table and smiled. "Malik," he said warmly, "I've been expecting you." The man slid a sleek black folder across the table. "In there is the deal of a lifetime. Full funding, full independence, no strings, unless you want them." Malik opened it. Inside were numbers, valuations, millions. A number so big it made his breath hitch. "This isn't some startup hustle," the man continued. "This is real power. Yours now." Malik looked up. "Why me?" The man's smile sharpened. "Because you've already proven what they feared most. A young black genius who doesn't need permission to lead. We just want to help you do it, on your terms." Malik hesitated. Then his phone buzzed again. This time, a message from his father. "They play friendly before they move in for the kill. Don't let them split us, son. I trust you, but trust yourself first." Malik swallowed hard. The man leaned in. "So, are you in?" The room felt too quiet, too still. Malik looked between the contract and the exit. Then he looked the man in the eye. Outside, across the street, a man in a black SUV, the same SUV from the bank, watched through binoculars. He spoke into a headset. He took the bait. The man in the cafe leaned back, fingers steepled, watching Malik with a snake's patience. "I know what you're thinking," he said smoothly. "Why would a big firm like ours be interested in you, a teenager? But see, Malik, we don't care about your age. We care about your mind." Malik stayed silent. The contract in front of him offered millions, yes, but also control. Control over his invention, his brand, his image. On paper, it was clean, polished, but something stank underneath. "I'll think about it," Malik finally said. The man's smile never broke. "Of course you will." As Malik walked out of the cafe, The SUV was gone. But someone else was watching now, and not just watching, tracking. That night, Lawrence Carter sat in his home office, jaw clenched, phone pressed tight to his ear. "Don't lie to me, Gerald. I saw the file. You had him flagged." His contact on the other end exhaled. "I didn't flag him, Lawrence. The system did. That facial recognition setup the bank uses, it's tied to NovaSecure's backend." Lawrence's blood turned cold. "You're telling me my son, an unarmed black kid, got flagged as a risk by a biased algorithm before he even opened his mouth?" "It's happening everywhere, man," Gerald said quietly. "That software's got baked-in bias. The developers know. The banks know. Hell, the vendors know. But they keep it quiet because it's efficient." Efficient. That word rang in Lawrence's ears like a threat wrapped in a boardroom smile. "This isn't about my son," he muttered. "This is about all of us." The next day, Malik opened his school laptop and froze. His screen was locked. A red warning flashed. "Unauthorized software use detected. Access suspended pending investigation." Within minutes, his phone buzzed again. A call from the school district's IT department. "We received a report that you've been running unauthorized encryption programs on district equipment." "That's a potential felony," Mr. Carter Malik was stunned. "What?" "I didn't install anything illegal, just a prototype app I built. It doesn't even connect to your network." "We'll be passing this on to local law enforcement," the voice replied coldly. "Your father may want to contact an attorney." Click. The line went dead. Back at Carter Tech, Lawrence was already 10 steps ahead. He called in his cyber forensics team. Within hours, they uncovered a digital fingerprint. Someone had remotely injected Malik's device with malicious code. The source? NovaSecure. Not just watching anymore. Actively framing. "They're trying to paint him as a cyber criminal," Lawrence said, voice tight with fury. "That's how the system works. Humiliate, criminalize, discredit. Especially when the black kid's smarter than the ones writing the rules." His CTO looked at him grimly. "And they've done it before. This is just the first time they targeted your son." Meanwhile, Malik sat in his room, drowning in silence. They were coming at him from all angles. First the guard, then the shady offer. Now this. He thought about his friends, how many times they'd been profiled in stores, stopped without reason, labeled suspicious just for being alive in the wrong zip code. It was never about what they did. It was always about who they were. Now it was happening to him, with bigger stakes, higher visibility. And he was scared, not of them, but of becoming another name people whispered after it was too late. That night, Lawrence made a call to an old friend, someone who used to work inside NovaSecure's development team. The whistleblower was hesitant. "They'll come after me if I talk," she warned. "They're already coming after my son," Lawrence said. "Help me expose them." Silence. Then she said one word. "Meet me." The next day, Malik returned to school, but the damage was done. Teachers avoided eye contact. Students whispered. The principal pulled him aside with fake concern and hollow reassurances. Malik wasn't dumb. He knew what this was. A smear campaign. Another method of erasure dressed in red tape and protocol. When he got home, Lawrence was waiting, with a file in his hands and fire in his eyes. "Son," he said, "we're going public." Inside the file were internal emails, whistleblower testimony, algorithm audits, and one explosive discovery. NovaSecure's software had flagged over 83% of black teenage males as high risk based on skewed behavioral data, without any real evidence. It wasn't broken. It was designed that way. But just as they began drafting their legal complaint, Malik's phone rang. "Unknown number." "Again," he answered. A distorted voice spoke on the line. "You think this is about a bank guard? That was just the surface. Walk away from this, or we'll dig into every weakness your family's ever had. You're not the only Carter we can reach." Then silence. Malik stood frozen. Then his phone lit up again. An email this time. No subject. Just an attachment. A photograph of his mother, a woman he hadn't seen in years. The caption read, Want to keep digging, Malik? Malik stared at the photo for what felt like forever. His mother, smiling in the sun, holding a cup of coffee, standing in front of a small apartment in New Orleans. He hadn't seen her since he was 6. She'd vanished after the divorce, swallowed by silence and sealed court records. His father never spoke of her, but now here she was, used as leverage, threatened because of him. He rushed into his father's office, phone in hand. "Dad," he said, breath shaking, "they know where Mom is." Lawrence looked up, eyes narrowing. "Show me." Malik handed over the phone. Lawrence read the message, his jaw locking. "This is what they do," he muttered. "They bring up ghosts, because when the truth doesn't scare you, they dig into your past." "But why her?" Malik demanded. "She's not part of this." Lawrence hesitated. Then he sat back. "Your mother," he said slowly, "wasn't just anyone. Before you were born, she was one of the lead engineers for the Department of Defense, helped build one of the earliest data surveillance networks, Project Lazarus." Malik blinked. Lawrence continued. "She discovered the system had been hijacked, tweaked to disproportionately flag and trace black activists, students, even politicians. When she tried to speak out, they blackballed her, cut her out, threatened her family." Malik's voice dropped. "So she ran." "She disappeared," Lawrence corrected, "to protect you, United States. And I let it happen because I thought she was safer in the dark." Now Nova Secure had found her, and they were using his story to pull her out of hiding. That night Malik lay in bed, eyes wide open, phone clutched in hand. He read her name over and over again. Dr. Amara Fields Carter. He searched. Nothing. No LinkedIn. No news articles. No digital footprint. Like she'd been erased, except for one thing. A single anonymous blog post, 13 years old, titled, "Algorithms Don't See Color Until They're Taught to." The post laid it all out. How machine learning models are trained on biased data. How surveillance neutrality is a myth. How systems that claim to be colorblind are actually weaponized blindness. At the end, one haunting sentence. "If they ever find this, they'll come for me again. But if you're reading this, don't let the silence win." Malik knew then, this wasn't just about patents or bank guards. This was warfare, waged quietly, systemically, technologically. And the worst part? Most people never saw it happening. 2 days later, Lawrence and Malik boarded a private jet to New Orleans. No press, no security detail, just family and the truth. They found Amar in a quiet suburb under a different name, working as a math tutor for local teens. When she opened the door and saw Malik, her eyes filled. "You're taller than your father now," she whispered, reaching to touch his face. "But you've got my fire." They sat for hours, pieced the story together. The algorithms used today by Nova Secure and banks like Sterling Atlantic, direct descendants of Project Lazarus. Even Malik's invention, the pattern detection system he built, had unknowingly touched the same code base. "They're using your genius to strengthen the same system meant to suppress you," Amara said. "And now that you're exposing it, they're panicking." Malik swallowed hard. "So what do we do?" Lawrence looked at them both. "We burn the whole thing down." Back in Atlanta, Carter Tech prepared for war. Malik, Lawrence, and Amara began gathering receipts, whistleblower reports, leaked internal emails, code comparisons, racial disparity audits, Amara's old hard drives, Malik's algorithms. And then, the final piece, a former Nova Secure executive came forward anonymously with a damning confession video. "They know the system is biased. They programmed it that way." The guard at Sterling Atlantic didn't act alone. He was trained on risk profiles. Those profiles, 90% of them are based on race, income level, zip code. The data doesn't lie, but they do. Malik watched the video in silence. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every black kid profiled for walking into a store. Every mother who had to give the talk. Every father who had to bury pride just to survive a traffic stop. Then came the breaking point. 3 days before they were set to release their findings to the press, Malik got a call. The FBI. Mr. Carter, we need you and your father to come in for questioning. We've received a federal complaint that your company is in possession of classified government technology tied to Project Lazarus. Malik's heart dropped. Amara stood behind him, eyes hard. They're trying to paint you as the thief now. Lawrence clenched his fists. Number. They're trying to destroy your credibility before you ever speak. But Malik wasn't shaken. Not anymore. We're still releasing the files, he said. If they arrest me, let them. Let the whole world see who they're trying to silence this time. Lawrence smiled. Amara nodded. They silenced me once, she said. They won't silence us. The next morning, a Carter Tech PR post went live on every platform. Title, "The system is not broken. It was built to break us." Attached was a countdown timer. 48 hours. When the timer hit 0, all the files, every damning truth, would be made public. The press started buzzing. NovaSecure panicked. Sterling Atlantic scrambled for legal cover. Congressional aides began placing calls behind closed doors. The world was watching. And somewhere, a hacker watched too. In a hidden server room, a figure typed furiously. A plan was in motion. Malik's screen suddenly blinked. A new message. No sender. Just 2 words. Too late. Then, blackout. Every screen in Carter Tech went dark. Servers wiped. Files erased. Countdown gone. And in that moment, Malik realized this wasn't just sabotage. This was warfare. And it had just gone offline. The blackout was total. Carter Tech's servers were wiped. The countdown vanished. Their entire case, gone in seconds. Malik sat frozen, staring at the screen. His jaw clenched. His mind raced. They nuked everything, he muttered. All our files, our evidence, everything we had. No, Amara said calmly, standing behind him. Not everything. She reached into her bag and pulled out a weathered external hard drive. I never trusted the cloud. This has my original Project Lazarus code, my emails, the first red flags, everything they buried. Lawrence stepped forward. Is it secure? She nodded. Air-gapped. No remote access. No chance of them finding it before we go live. Malik looked at her, then his father, his resolve crystallizing. They tried to silence us, but now we speak louder. The next day they went old school. No servers, no firewalls, no sleek countdown. Just truth, leaked to every major news outlet in the country. Hard drives were hand-delivered to CNN, NBC, The Guardian, even tech blogs and activist forums. Inside, damning internal NovaSecure communications, racial profiling logs, rigged algorithms, and a direct trail from Sterling Atlantic Bank to federal surveillance contractors. It exploded like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags began trending worldwide. Just a system built to break use, Chashire, justice for Malik, show code of oppression, Chashire, exposed NovaSecure news anchors, called it the biggest data leak since Snowden. Activists called it confirmation of what Black America had long known, but couldn't prove. And right in the center of it stood Malik Carter. Lawrence was summoned before Congress within a week. C-SPAN broadcast it live. He walked into the chamber with Amara on one side and Malik on the other. The crowd stood. Not everyone was clapping, but enough were. Senators fired questions. One tried to pivot the blame. Mr. Carter, is it possible you're exaggerating these racial profiling claims for sympathy or political leverage? Malik leaned into his mic. No, Senator, I'm 17. I don't need to exaggerate when I've been profiled since I was 12. I've been followed in stores, pulled over for no reason, laughed at by a bank guard just for existing in a hoodie, and now that I built something powerful, they tried to paint me as a criminal. Why? Because I'm Black, because I'm smart, and because I dared to fight back. Silence, then applause from the chamber gallery. Within 2 weeks, the dominoes began to fall. NovaSecure's CEO, Thomas Calder, was indicted on federal conspiracy and civil rights violations. Emails showed he'd knowingly approved the use of biased AI across multiple institutions. Sterling Atlantic's board of directors issued mass resignations. The bank guard, the one who started it all, was fired, then arrested when leaked audio revealed him saying, "I always keep an eye on the ones who look like they don't belong." Public outcry forced the Justice Department to open a sweeping investigation into algorithmic discrimination. Lawsuits piled up. Civil rights organizations mobilized. And Malik? He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Youth Innovation. On the day of the ceremony, a reporter asked him, "Malik, how does it feel to have taken down a billion-dollar empire?" He looked into the camera, steady and calm. "I didn't take them down. We did. My mom, my dad, my community, every black person who's ever been told they're too loud, too angry, too suspicious, too ambitious. We didn't break the system. We exposed the truth. The system was never broken. It was built this way." Then he added, "And now? We're building something better." But just before Malik turned on his heel to leave, a news ticker flashes on the bottom of the TV screen on the hallway. Breaking: tech giant Avalon Corp. accused of using Nova-secure algorithms in education sector. Whistleblower testimony incoming. Malik looked at the reporter, and they both laughed. Nothing is as satisfying as such a headline on the heels of the event that just happened. Because they laughed. They judged. They tried to bury the truth. But the truth rose anyway. Another voice heard. Another story they couldn't erase. And we're just getting started. If this story moved you, shook you, made you see the world a little differently, then you're exactly where you need to be. Because here on Global Black Voices, we don't just tell stories. We expose injustice. We lift the unheard. And we shine a light where others won't. So like, share, and hit that subscribe button. Because the fight isn't over. And the next story might be the one they don't want you to hear.